Hey guys, welcome to episode 11 of our weekly Super Smash Bros. Ultimate News Roundup, which means there's only 15 weeks left until the game is out. As usual, we're joined by Derek, Ash, and John to go over all the updates from the Smash Bros. Blog and elsewhere from the past week. So let's get right to it. And of course, that starts off on Sunday, being day 1, with a character overview of Villager. The new description reads, this fighter attacks using skills from daily life in the village, such as planting, growing, and cutting down trees. They can also use items like nets, slingshots, and turnips. The Villager can also put items or incoming projectiles in the pocket to use later. So yeah, we have Villager back, of course, from the Animal Crossing series, and in this case, it doesn't appear that a whole lot has changed. The fighter himself, or herself as well, looks very similar to how they appeared in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. The biggest difference I've seen is that there's now an icon in the HUD that shows exactly what item the Villager is pocketed, which is really useful if you're fighting against the Villager. And on top of that, the Villager can now pocket items using his net as well. Or her net, I should say. So yeah, what do you guys think about Villager being here?
You know what? I never used Villager that much in Wii U, but I was playing with friends once and just having all of us together, and they never really encountered him. So I played him once and absolutely destroyed them because they were just not prepared for his moveset. So Villager is just one of those characters that can be sort of sneaky if you know what you're dealing with, know what you're doing with him. And I like those changes, like being able to show what's on the HUD that sort of prepares other people as well, because he really could catch you out of nowhere with whatever's in there. But it also makes you realize just how many different HUD icons they need for that attack, because it's not just the items and stuff, it's Samus's blast, Samus's missiles, King K. Rool's crown, stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of different things that he can pocket, and I didn't realize he can actually pocket things using his net, which, like, I can imagine people getting really good with that. It's good to see him back. He's definitely one of those strange characters that just kind of works in Smash.
Mm-hmm. I like that they've added the ability for him to pocket things with his net, because that's something that makes sense organically with the character, and it also makes sense within the game. So that's like the kind of update I like to see when they're, from Smash 4 to Ultimate, when they actually do go in and change a couple of mechanics and in ways that make sense. And I have to say, I think Villager in general is a great showcase for the evolution of Sakurai's own development skills as a director and as, making this series over the years, because it wasn't that long ago that, in Smash Bros. Brawl, or in the era of Smash Bros. Brawl, he was saying, well, there's certain characters that aren't going to appear playable because they don't quite fit the role of Smash Brothers, and Villager was a good example of that, and he used that example in the past as a fighter who wouldn't fit in Smash Brothers. Yet here we are today with Smash 4 and Ultimate, and not only is Villager in Smash Brothers and playable, but he feels completely organic to the game, and his moves feel like they make sense both within Animal Crossing and Smash. So even though I don't personally use Villager that much, I think it's a really cool showcase for Sakurai's own skills as a director.
The less fitting a character seems at first, the more I want them in Smash.
Exactly.
I think clearly you can make it work if you put the effort into it, and Villager is a great example of it.
Andre brought up earlier that he hasn't changed that much from Smash 4, and that's very true. I was just thinking how weird it would be if he was like this super high detail, realistic boy in Smash Ultimate.
That'd be terrifying.
I will say, I have a special hatred for playing against Villager, not because I don't know how to or because I find him difficult, but because I don't know if you guys have ever seen a matchup between Mega Man and Villager, and when they both know what they're doing. They are the longest, most dreadfully boring matches, because both Villager and Mega Man are keep-away characters, and they're all about spacing, and you're just plinking each other's percentage up bit by bit from across the stage with projectiles, and it's the longest, most boring matchup.
You just go back and forth forever, throwing pocket items out and recatching it.
It's the most obnoxious matchup. So I'm not a big fan of playing against Villager, but I love that he's here, and I do enjoy playing as him on occasion.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he works against Inkling as well, because there's tons of projectiles with that character. Like the ink bombs, and maybe even just ink in general. Like, do we know if Villager can just pocket ink?
I don't know.
My guess is probably not.
I would love if it just stained his hands and his pants if he tries to pocket.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
There's really not a whole lot to say about Villager. I mean, he's back, and I like the few changes they've done for him, and I will say, like, you never notice it when you're in the middle of the matches, but seeing these, like, the screenshots and seeing him in, like, action, it's like, oh yeah, his hands don't have fingers. That's weird.
I also never noticed that there is the parts above his eyes are colored slightly differently, and it's funny in the example we're looking at. The lighting in Smash Wii U is so different, such that Villager's skin appears darker and the parts above his eyes appear lighter. But here, it's the opposite in Ultimate, where his face is really bright, but the parts above his eyes are a little darker, and I'd never noticed that about him before.
I was looking at that too, actually. You're totally right. So.
It's really weird.
I mean, it really is interesting just how much the new lighting can also just change how these characters look in general, in a more general sense.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing how he interacts with the new characters, like how he'll capture Ridley's fire projectiles or whatever other newcomers are in the fray this time.
The cross and the holy water you could potentially grab from Simon and Richter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we did touch on this briefly, but I do like how if he pockets King K. Rool's crown, that his crown is still gone. It just stays off his head until K. Rool gets it back.
What a dick move.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to day 2, where we got a character overview for Dark Pit. This is on Monday, of course. The new description reads, Dark Pit is Pit's Echo Fighter. His abilities are mostly the same as Pit's, but his hair and clothes are different colors. He summons different weapons and celebrates victory to a different tune, which is, I kind of like how they put that.
Yeah.
Now, Dark Pit, this might be a function of him not being playable yet, but based on the trailer, I'm not seeing any noticeable differences with him at all. At least in terms of like his general moveset. Like, he looks to be very much the same fighter. Again, there could be more intricacies there that we just haven't noticed yet because he hasn't been playable in a public setting. But I'm sure for people who are fans of Dark Pit, I'm sure they're glad he's back. For me, I don't really much care, but...
Yeah.
Aw, poor Dark Pit.
In terms of visuals, though, Dark Pit is such a huge jump over the Wii U version. Like,
yes.
It's a generational leap. Every single portion of his body looks completely different. Like, if you look at the hair, you can see basically every single strand of his hair this time. And his wings have these really, like, nice, like, feathery textures to them. You can see sort of metallic textures on all of his wrists and on his ankles. He just looks so good this time, whereas on Wii U he looked kind of flat. And the same goes for normal Pit, but Dark Pit in particular really stands out.
Yeah, the coloring I think is what stands out because, he's still wearing all black and gold, but that black and gold, like, you can see variations to it, especially like the lighter black that's on his scarf. It really stands out and just makes him feel much cleaner, I guess. I don't know what the best way to put it on there, but I do like the detailing on him. Andre's completely right. I watched his trailer and whatnot. He looks completely the same. No
Which is
different
fitting for a
whatsoever.
clone or an original clone, right?
People give Dark Pit a hard time, and I mean, yes, it's debatable whether he needs to be here. I get it, but I don't know. I guess I love Kid Icarus Uprising so much that I'm fine with him being here, and I have to say, the generational difference, as John said, I am shocked by looking at this side-by-side comparison, just how much better Dark Pit looks in Ultimate than he did in Smash Wii U, and of all characters, to have such a huge difference, it's funny that it's Dark Pit, but yeah, I mean, in general, I prefer regular Pit, and I play regular Pit more often, but he's another Echo Fighter. I don't think that he's any less deserving of being here than other Echo Fighters. Like, it's cool that we got Chrom, and, Dark Pit's here. I don't know. I think people give him too hard a time, personally, but I think he looks really good here in Ultimate, and I do like that he's got that edge factor to him. So, when I feel like playing Pit, but I'm having a slightly Shadow the Hedgehog-ish type day, I play Dark Pit.
Time for another villain. He's another villain in this.
It'd be cool to see if they give him a bit more personality too, because in the treehouse during a Pit match, they said when Pit was flying off, you can hear him going, "I never learned how to read," as he's flying away. And that's a quote from Uprising, and it'd be really cool if Dark Pit has the same kind of like thing going on with his quotes.
That's true. I always found his quotes to be funny, or at least one of them, because there's one victory animation in Smash Wii U where he goes, "Can't help but feel sorry for you." And that always sounded to me like the end of a long and really interesting conversation that he's just being a douche in. But you only hear that very last end of it where he's like, "Can't help but feel sorry for you." And I don't know. I like Dark Pit just because he's exactly what you think he is. He's an edgy anti-hero version of Pit who's just goofy in his edginess, and I like that.
I mean, he's definitely got more personality than Dark Samus, so...
That's true. Yeah, if Dark Samus can be here, come on, Dark Pit he can be grandfathered in as well.
Where's Dark Link? He should be his own
Yeah,
fighter.
that's true. Actually, one thing I actually like about his sort of his lighter blacks in this game is Pit actually has an ult where there's like a black ult for Pit, which is always a bit confusing when there's like a black Pit and then there's Dark Pit. So I guess maybe they've made him a bit lighter to make that stand out more, perhaps.
That could
Maybe.
be. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to day 3, where we got a new music update, this time Gear Up 4 from Fire Emblem Heroes, which is, I believe, our first mobile game representation. Is that right, Ash?
I think so, which is kind of a big deal in itself. Even if I'm not a big fan of the remix itself, like, it's a big deal, and it really speaks to Fire Emblem Heroes' level of success and just how significant it is to Nintendo that it's getting represented here in Smash.
So you're actually not a big fan of the remix, Hubs. I actually completely dig this. I like this a lot, and I say that as one who's barely played Fire Emblem Heroes or the series in general.
I guess I'm not, at least of the clip we've heard, because I think I've heard the regular version of the song so much, because I played Fire Emblem Heroes for quite a while, that it's just this clip of it doesn't really feel like it's all that different. It just feels like it's sped up. And there is new instrumentation on top of it, so it's not just the original version sped up, but yeah, it's just not doing a whole lot for me yet, but I also feel like it may be one of those songs that when I hear more of it, and not just this clip, it might, like, turn into something that I really enjoy.
I think I might like it because it reminds me very much, or at least the beginning of it reminds me of a particular track that I can't remember the name of from Halo 2, and it was an amazing song.
Oh, okay.
So I think...
I'm totally getting that
right?
now, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look this up because I haven't played Halo 2, yeah.
I'm kind of with Ash. The first time, I do think the second half is better, but listening to that first half the first time, and even a couple times I listened to it a few more, I get anxiety listening to it. Like I'm listening, it's like I just feel on edge. I don't feel comfortable. I'm like, I'm just like, it's like something's about to go wrong. Something I don't know what, but something's going to go wrong, and it just feels weird because the other song, the original song is pretty calming, all things considered. It's basically the menu theme.
It's an interesting choice for sure, but I think more important than the song itself, in this case, at least for me, is just the general fact that Fire Emblem Heroes is getting represented at all. Like, mobile games being represented in Smash is a pretty big deal, and I think it's a big win for people who have been really enjoying Fire Emblem Heroes and not necessarily falling into that, it's mobile so it sucks pitfall. There is a whole segment of Nintendo fans who really enjoy their mobile content, and this is kind of a cool shout out to them.
Maybe we'll get Lucina and some of the other Fire Emblem female characters, I guess female Robin, in their special outfits from the game.
Oh, no.
Somehow I have a feeling that's not going to happen.
Yeah, probably
for some reason. Yeah.
So, John, where do you fall on this one?
I'd much rather have a Mitomo track, to be honest. It's pretty good. I like it quite a lot. It stands apart from the source material, which I like quite a bit. But I do kind of get what Derek means. It's not a relaxing tune, which the original kind of is. Yes, I understand why you sort of feel like a bit anxious around it. It's not my favourite of all the tracks we've had so far, but it's also not bad at all.
Well, I mean, it's no Gangplank Galleon, so...
Wait, what is?
Nothing can ever be. I think perhaps the fact that I am not that experienced with Fire Emblem Heroes is maybe helping me out here appreciate it a little bit more, since I have nothing to compare it to, so... I just heard it for the first time. I like what I heard, and the fact that it's a little bit more high energy, I suppose, is that why it's causing you anxiety, I guess? But yeah, like that doesn't bother me as one who wasn't familiar with the original track. So
I will say this: if we can get a song from Fire Emblem Heroes, I kind of hope we can get something from Fire Emblem Warriors, just because that game has a great soundtrack too. That's based on a lot of stuff from Fire Emblem, but still has its own kind of take on it. Mm-hmm. So if we can get this spin-off music, then maybe we can get something from Warriors too.
What about Super Mario Run?
I was gonna say, doesn't Super Mario Run have like the techno tracks?
I thought it was just the new Super Mario Brothers 2.
They're actually slightly different, Ash.
Are they slightly different?
Slightly
okay,
different.
I played Super Mario Run for all of like an hour, so I definitely didn't listen to the music long enough to.
They're very similar, but they are slightly better, I would say. I mean, as a game itself, I think it's slightly better than the Super Mario Brothers. So
fair enough.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to a second update for the day. This one is for a Poké Ball Pokemon being, Togedemaru, right? Is that it?
Nice.
Yeah. Nice
Sweet,
job.
nailed it. All right, the description reads, this Pokemon shoots sparks from its body. You'll take severe damage if they hit you, so we recommend keeping your distance. And we've actually seen this in action too, partially because of your video, John, that compiled all the gameplay of all the Pokemon. And can you tell us a little bit more about how this guy works? Does he just walk around and shoot off electricity, or what's he do exactly?
Okay, so this was during one of the Treehouse matches when they were showing off the Pokeballs, and they decided they'll throw the Pokeball just off screen so we couldn't get a great look at him. But we can see him, and basically he seems to stand there and shoot a wave of electricity, which looks like the move Zing Zap. From the description, they just sort of say he shoots waves of electricity, so they haven't really confirmed whether the move is Zing Zap or not, but there's a high chance it is. But yeah, he seems to be quite a static Pokemon. Not that we get a great look at him, but he seems to just sort of stay there and just shoot waves of electricity out in the surrounding area. So he's not like Raichu, who sort of moves around and surfs around the screen. He seems to stay in one place.
I swear there was another Pokemon that just popped out and put like lightning or some other kind of element around it just in the general area.
It was.
So as long as you stay
Dedenne.
away from it. Dedenne, yeah. It's basically an upgraded Dedenne.
I was gonna say, it seems to me there's a lot of electric-based Pokemon in this game. Maybe that's just...
It does.
Yeah, right?
So I think it also doesn't help that, well, not that it's a bad thing, but Pichu also returning alongside
Right.
Pikachu, it just makes it feel like there's even more electric Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say about Togedemaru itself. I mean, it's cool to see it here. We kind of already touched on this, but by this point in the series, there had already been so many similar-looking electric rat-type Pokemon that they all kind of blended together for me at this point. Like, obviously, he's different from Dedenne, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it's another one that looks like this, but, it's like another Emolga type thing, too. It's like we've seen other tiny, cute electric-type Pokemon as well. So, it's cool, but I don't have too much to say other than, oh, hey, Togedemaru's here. Okay.
I know exactly what you mean, Ash. We've got Pikachu, we've got Pichu, we've got Mimikyu, we've got Togedemaru. So many of these Pokemon look just like Pikachu.
Yeah.
There's going to be a great image of just all these Pokemon just standing together. And in fact, I think Sakurai actually shared a picture of Pikachu, Pichu, and Alolan Raichu all standing together.
Family
so I can't wait
photo.
for someone just to compile all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat. It's cool he's there. It makes sense. His move kind of makes sense. He's also a steel type, so you can make him a little bit more different by having him roll around the stage using his steel type move or something like that. But as is, it's fine.
I think that sums it up there, Derek. So let's go and move on to day 4. We've got another character overview, this time for Duck Hunt. The description reads, this duo excels at long-range attacks like kicking exploding cans and throwing clay pigeons. For their final smash, 3 games from the Light Gun series team up, Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, and Wild Gunman. I love this guy. Duck Hunt was such a surprise in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. I love how they, captured the range of guns that supported the light gun or the zapper, as it was known on the NES. And they just did such a unique job bringing that to life as a character in Smash Bros., making him so expressive too. Like, they made a big deal about how they're making a lot of the characters more expressive this time. Duck Hunt has always been expressive, both in the original game and especially in Smash Bros. So yeah, I'm glad he's back, even if it doesn't really appear to be much different about him that I can tell at least. But again, that could be a function of him not being playable yet at this point.
And it is crazy to look at them side by side in this comparison and see that we didn't have it to compare to with Smash Wii U, but his fur is basically textureless in Smash Wii U, and I never really noticed that before because here in Ultimate, they've completely retextured Duck Hunt's fur, well, the dog portion of Duck Hunt's fur, and the bird portion of Duck Hunt's feathers. Like, they really do look noticeably better.
And I think it says something about society when there's a dog playable in Smash, but no cats. So, speaking for us.
Wow.
Right?
As it should be.
Hey, we don't know what the Gen 7 Pokemon is yet, okay? So
That's true.
I guess that is true. I love Duck Hunt. I always actually threw out the Duck Hunt dog as a possible fighter for Smash for the long time, just as a joke, because it was my first game, so I was like, sure, why not, the Duck Hunt dog, let's actually be able to beat him up. But I never expected to actually fall in love with him, because he was always such an annoying character to me, and I love these two so much, their animations, the references to all those games, because I never owned Wild Gunman, but I had Hogan's Alley, and I don't think I ever realized that was actually an NES game. And just seeing all those references is great. I'm so happy he's back. And I really do like using him. I think he's in my top 5 of playable characters for Wii U, so I hope he's just as good here.
he's a fun one to use. He feels so
He is.
different to a lot of the other characters. Like the can attack in particular is very different from how other projectiles work in the game. And I love how you can kind of like troll people with it. Like if you get good with it, you can kind of troll people with it, with how you can manage, you know, its movement independent of Duck Hunts as well. And by the way, something just reminded me, or just saying Duck Hunt out loud reminded me, the only thing I don't like about the character is his name. I hate the name Duck Hunt. I don't think he should be called Duck Hunt as a character name. Or they should be.
In Europe, it's Duck Hunt Duo, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, in Europe, it's Duck Hunt Duo.
Which
but,
is way better.
yeah.
That makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Well, it's better,
Yeah.
not only that, but I thought I remembered from Smash Wii U's marketing that they were initially, at least by NOA, considered a trio with the duck, the dog, and the person, you know, holding the light gun for the Smash
Oh, that's
attacks.
a good point.
I thought they used to be considered a trio, but now here, of course, they're considered a duo. But it's so easy to slip into saying, oh, Duck Hunt, like, oh, he's a fun character to use, when it's really they.
both,
It's like,
right.
it's
Yeah.
them together. But I love this character. I'm with you, Derek. You know, Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt was my, you know, the combination cart was my first game. I always just loved the Duck Hunt dog, as, you know, I hated him the same way that, you know, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. But I always, well, you know, kind of like you, was hoping to see them playable in Smash, but not necessarily expecting it. But not only are they playable in Smash, their moves are perfect for them, and I love trolling people with their really just very unusual projectiles. Like, it's kind of like the Mega Man effect, where you don't see a lot of Mega Man mains, so you also don't see a lot of people who know how to fight effectively against Mega Man. It's kind of the same thing with Duck Hunt. I will play with, people who are around my level, and I'll bring out Duck Hunt, and they have no idea how to deal with a can or the trick shot. They have no idea. And it's so fun to use and troll people with these projectiles. And just because Duck Hunt, just the appearance of this character, it's just that kind of in itself is being trolled by getting beaten by a character that looks like this. I love it. And
so building into earlier too, Villager is a great counter for Duck Hunt because he can pocket so many of his projectiles.
Oh yeah.
And Ash was saying that a Mega Man and Villager fight could be quite slow, and the same is very true for Duck Hunt as well.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just super happy he's back. The one major problem I always had with Duck Hunt was he doesn't have a lot of great Smash finishing moves. I always had trouble actually knocking a player off.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of range on the light gun smash attack, so that's quite good. But I understand what you mean. Apart from that, there aren't really that many strong thrusting moves.
Well, and they're also Duck Hunt smashes are multi-hit, kind of like Toon Link. So if you hit one of them, but not like necessarily the last hit, you won't actually launch who you're hitting. So it's definitely Duck Hunt's definitely more of a technical character for sure. But I think that also kind of makes sense for what this character is too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think this text actually also confirms that his final smash is the same, because in his character video you don't see the final smash, but here it does confirm that it shows Duck Hunt, Hogan's Alley, and Wild Gunman all teaming up for that final smash attack, which is how it worked in Wii U.
Yeah, well, and I think it makes sense that the final smash is the same because it was already kind of a cutscene. So, and because with Smash Ultimate's move to cutscene style, get right back into the action final smashes, Duck Hunt was already that. So they didn't really, and it was already really cool and unique to Duck Hunt, so they really didn't need to go back to the drawing board for Duck Hunt's final smash.
Alright, so that was the final blog update for the day. However, there was some more Smash Brothers news, because a new Sakurai interview came out via Famitsu Magazine, which was again translated by our friends over at All Source Gaming. Ash, you're the one who covered that for us. Do you want to give us a quick recap, or the highlights, I suppose, or the highlight, as it might be in this case?
Yeah, so I'm going to just focus on one particular highlight, because I would direct those of you listening to go listen to the whole summary and the whole interview, because there's a lot of cool tidbits there, but the biggest one that really concerns us here is how Sakurai basically straight out admits that they have been using the results from the Smash Wii U and 3DS character survey to inform their character picks here in Smash Ultimate. And, for example, King K. Rool ended up being one of the most popular picks or most popularly voted for characters in the survey, which is why we're seeing him here in Ultimate. And not only that, but he also shed some light on Chrom and Dark Samus being added, and mentioned that they were both big vote getters, and there's been a lot of people asking for them over the years, but that most of Chrom's support came from within Japan, whereas Dark Samus was highly requested overseas in the US and Europe. So I just thought that was interesting context for why and how these characters came to be added to Smash Ultimate.
So does this mean that we're going to get Goku and Shrek then?
Totally. Goku and Shrek confirmed.
Oh my God.
Totally.
Yeah.
I will mention that Isaac was on that list from Golden Sun.
He sure was.
And Gino.
So was Banjo-Kazooie.
They're all happening. Every one.
Every single one.
I think it is interesting how the ballot has seemingly been used far more, or really at all, for Smash Bros. Ultimate as opposed to Wii U and 3DS, where there was evidence that even Bayonetta was planned before the ballot even wrapped up. So,
Right.
I don't know, I just find that kind of funny how it's now
They
taking
always
effect.
knew.
Yeah. I do think some characters were going to make it into this game regardless. Like, there's no way Inkling wouldn't have been in this game.
Oh, yeah.
No way in hell the Inkling wouldn't have been, I agree.
I would even extrapolate that over to Simon. Like, even Simon and Richter. Like, I think Castlevania was always one of the next third-party franchises to come into Smash, regardless of whether people wanted it, were like crying for Simon or not,
Alright, so moving on to the final day of the week, day 5, being Thursday, we have an assist trophy for Alucard. The description reads, Alucard will attack nearby opponents with a flurry of slashes. As a son of Dracula, he can also turn into a bat and charge at opponents farther away. By the way, when you read Dracula backwards, you get... Well, what do you get, guys? Someone tell me, what do you get?
Alucard, obviously.
Man, that's been a trope for the longest amount of times. Either Alucard's the son or the alternate name for Dracula, so yeah.
Yeah.
This trophy is kind of wild just because of how many different attacks it has. It kind of reminds me of, I'm blanking on her name, but from Kid Icarus Uprising.
Oh, Phosphora.
Yeah, Phosphorus. Yeah, she had so many different attacks at her disposal, and
Where they might as well just be a fighter at that point.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alucard's kind of the same way. I mean, it's such a cool touch that he's actually using the most powerful weapon from Symphony of the Night, the Chrysogrim, as his main weapon. And it's like, yeah, because everybody grinded up 2 of those and just held down, constantly pushing the buttons and killed everything in their path in that game. But integrating some of his other moves, like you guys said, it's almost like he really should have just been a fighter at that point.
Yeah.
A broken one, but still.
He's very defensive as well. We don't see very many assist trophies outright trying to avoid players. But Alucard turns into mist and turns into a bat as well to try and avoid player attacks, which is really interesting because most assist trophies would just kind of sit around and attack you, whereas this guy literally moves around the stage. He'll jump over gaps. He'll clear gaps that you probably can't clear yourself, and he just seems so robust, which is super weird for an assist trophy.
Yeah, it's really, it's really a shame almost, because I didn't even realize that I kind of did want Alucard playable, but after seeing this assist trophy, I'm like, Richter's really cool, but I kind of wish we got an Alucard, though of course I understand why we didn't, and I don't necessarily think there needed to be 2 separate original Castlevania reps in the roster, but seeing Alucard here as an assist trophy, I kind of wish we could play as him, because he's really cool.
Mm-hmm. And how weird is it to have a Symphony of the Night representation on a Nintendo platform? This is basically a PlayStation game. And,
The
that's no
PlayStation
stranger
game.
to Smash now, I guess, because we have Cloud and we have Snake.
FF7.
I had that same sensation when they revealed Snake in Smash Brothers Brawl, but more specifically with this stage, which featured mechs or Metal Gears from Metal Gear Solid 4, which was a game we knew had no chance of ever appearing on a Nintendo console. So
Yeah, music too.
Right?
Yeah.
Directly from 4. Yeah, it's super weird.
It was kind of insane, and it's just one of those examples. PlayStation got Symphony of the Night. Then 64 got the Castlevania 64, and I forget the other name of the game, but yeah, those 2 games which didn't have the best reputation. So
Not so much.
It's just funny to see that Smash has basically a better PlayStation representation than PlayStation All-Stars did now.
Oh, 100%. That's what I was saying back when Cloud was revealed. It's like the fact that Cloud got into Smash before he did PlayStation All-Stars, just the irony in that will never, ever wear off.
And the funny thing is, just keeps getting worse and worse for All Stars.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, yeah. That poor game. Alright, so that brings us to the end of the week, but we're not done yet because we have to answer one of your guys' questions, where if you support us for just $1 a month on Patreon, you can submit questions about Smash Brothers and we'll answer one each week. This time it comes to us by way of Michelle Mewen, who asks, Hi GX, a little while ago I was listening to a Dutch gaming podcast where they discussed the upcoming games of 2018. Smash Bros. Ultimate wasn't mentioned one time. I thought that was an oversight, but then I started noticing Smash's absence in a lot of other outlets discussing the latter half of 2018. How do you explain the lack of hype for Smash Ultimate? It's my most anticipated game of 2018, and I find it odd there seems to be so little buzz about it. Keep up the good work. So, you're not alone in noticing that, because I'm actually a huge fan of Easy Allies. I've been listening to their podcast. I listen to it every week, and they have an ongoing ranking. I forget what it's called. John, do you remember?
It's the Desire Index.
The Desire Index, there we go. And Smash Brothers has been ranking pretty low on it. I think it's around rank 9 or 10,
It keeps going down.
It keeps dropping. I don't know where
Kyle.
it is now. Luckily, it is still beating Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, so I'll give them credit for that. But I've noticed this trend among a few other outlets as well. I don't want to name them all, but I'm right there with you. So, yeah, so the question is, guys, why is this happening? Why are a lot of outlets seemingly not that excited about it, at least when speaking in a more general sense? Because whenever I've heard people talk about while playing it or, about their playtime with it, it seems like they are excited. So what do you think is going on here?
It might just be the fact that this is our 5th Smash Brothers game, and it's just you kind of know what to expect at this point. I mean, it's exciting for us because we're seeing all these new Nintendo representation, but if you look at the game as a whole and you don't care as much about those Nintendo characters or stuff like that as much, you're just sort of looking at it as the same as a whole, it's it's pretty much the same. That's my best guess, because I'm when I see all these announcements, especially from that last Direct, I'm like, hell yeah, bring it on.
The interesting thing, real quick, is that most Smash Brothers games, or all Smash Brothers games, they're appealing to fans of every, of all kinds, right? If you're a fan of any particular character, there's a good chance you might be excited to play as them in Smash. But Smash Brothers Ultimate so far is almost seems to be more made for Smash fans. It's the ultimate version of this game, so in a way it's appealing more to that demographic because it has, so far from what we can tell, the least amount of new content relative to almost any other game in the series.
Yeah, and I think it's a combination of what the both of you just said. I think that, this game seems to be more fan-focused in that there is less new content coming to it. I mean, so the vast majority of the stages are returning from previous games, which for fans is great, but for newcomers, maybe not as much, or for more casual Smash players, maybe not as much. But I think it's a combination of that and the fact that, as Derek kind of said, Smash is a known quantity now, and especially Smash Ultimate, even though it's clear that it isn't just a port, on the surface, I could forgive someone for thinking that it might be, just from a passing glance, if you're not really into the series like we are. And I think that it's just becoming more of a known quantity. So for people who aren't as super into the characters and super into the stages and all the content updates as we are, I could see why it might rank a little lower on the desire index or the excitement index. But, I think it's a shame, but at the same time, I guess I can understand why. But for us, God, it's just, we're right up there, right at the very top.
Exactly.
Yeah. I also understand it, but the most recent Direct was bursting with new stuff, and I can't really understand watching that and still not being excited for the new things in this game. And I've not watched the recent Easy Allies podcast, but I don't know if they were more excited after, like the Simon's debut and King K. Rool. But that kind of stuff seems like the content that will make you more excited for the game. Because obviously the E3 debut was just showing us stuff we've seen before, but all compiled into one package.
Right.
Whereas this is basically showing that it's a brand new game. So yeah, I think that should have maybe nudged people to be a bit more excited for this. But I also guess it's also an act of quantity. There's so many games to cover, and Smash, from its E3 showing, wasn't really looking that ambitious from a new content standpoint, whereas like Red Dead and all these other games are brand new.
Right.
So that might have something to do with it.
It is interesting, though, because I did watch the Easy Allies reaction video for the Smash Direct, and they were, or at least the two of them that were in there, really had a great time. They were reacting very positively. It was Brandon, and I can't remember who else.
It wasn't Kyle Bossman?
Oh, no, it was Kyle. It was, yeah, I believe so. It's been a while since I've watched it, but I think it was Kyle. But yeah, I mean, they seemed very excited about it, and super, into all the announcements, and so I don't know how that translates into it coming in at 9th or 10th on their desire index, but I think it is just maybe an overall sense that it's a known quantity and that Smash is coming and it's going to be awesome, but it's not necessarily anything crazy new, which for us it doesn't need to be, but, maybe for some others it does.
That's a really good point, actually. It is a known quantity. I mean, we know what we're getting with Smash, whereas there's all these other games which I guess are more mysteries. Like we don't know if they're going to turn out to be amazing or not.
Right.
Whereas we're pretty confident that Smash will be. So maybe that makes it a bit less exciting, knowing that it's already going to be good.
Maybe it's one of those things you don't get too excited until it gets like it's right on top of us. Holy crap, it's going to happen so soon. It's coming out, 2 weeks. I am so ready for this game. Look at all this amazing content. Because Sakurai has said we will know every character before the game comes out. So
right.
Maybe. I'm just guessing on this end because it's so funny seeing this question, because when I first saw this question, I'm like, I've not seen anybody not be hyped about this game. Like, my entire Twitter feed, everybody's always hyped for it. Even people that don't really talk about Nintendo games much, they'll see this stuff and be like, holy crap, that's awesome. And so I'm like, I thought there was a general sense of people are super excited for Smash, but I don't know.
I think it does show kind of maybe the divide, or I don't want to call it divide, but like the different perspectives by enthusiasts and press, perhaps, where, yeah, fans are excited. Like, as I said before, I feel like this is almost kind of like a Smash Brothers game for Smash Brothers fans. I think with a lot of outlets, who do more general coverage, like, you can take a look at Smash Brothers Ultimate, get a really good idea of what it is just by watching a match or two, and then you can kind of move on. Like, you already kind of know how you're going to feel about the game, as opposed. There's not a whole lot there that we know of yet that's going to really surprise you. So yeah, it being a known quantity, I think, is kind of what's working against it in this sense. Which is kind of funny because, yeah, by being the Ultimate version, that's his main selling point. But at the same time, I can see why it's also maybe not like that exciting in and of itself to some people out there. At least in terms of like, looking forward to playing it. So I don't know, it is a weird case, but
I think you nailed it there. I think that you have to kind of be, more than any other game in the series thus far, I think you have to really kind of be a hardcore Smash fan to get the maximum amount of excitement out of this hype cycle.
Yeah, like for us, like seeing everyone is back is like, hell yeah, that's freaking awesome. But if you're like more of a casual fan, you've only you've played or dabbled in all of them up to this point.
What the hell is a Pichu?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's not really going to excite you that much. Like, I want to see the new stuff. I want to see what new characters are coming here, right? So I can kind of see
because
why.
it's like, there to the layperson, it's like, oh, Mario and Link are back. They've always been in. Like, oh, Pichu and young Link. I don't care about them. So to the layperson, I get why they wouldn't care about Pichu and young Link and stuff like that. But yeah, and in that sense, kind of as you said, it really is a game made for Smash fans. And I think that unless you are that hardcore Smash fan like we all are, maybe some of the hype is a bit lost.
Yeah, I mean, I actually totally understand the sentiment too, just in a general sense, because I'm also one who really appreciates novelty in games. Right. And so far, what we see, we're not seeing a whole lot of novelty here. We're seeing a lot of great additions, and I love that everything's coming back, and I love what the package is so far. But yeah, not a ton in this in terms of novelty. So I feel like perhaps if there were, say, a Smash Bros. Ultimate 2, I might be where some other outlets seem to be at this point in time with Smash Ultimate. Like the fact that its Ultimate version is exciting to me in and of itself, but if it did it again, it's like, I can kind of, it doesn't have the pull it did before.
And it doesn't seem like Sakurai would do it again, because he's even mentioned, it's like, yeah, we can't do this trick twice.
Well,
yeah,
until Nintendo invites it back, after announcing the game, a few years from now. So, thank you for the great question, Michelle. And again, for the rest of you who want to submit your own questions for next week and every week thereafter, for as long as we're doing these, you can just back us for $1 a month on Patreon, which you can not only ask us questions about Smash Brothers, but you also get early access to the podcast 3 days early, as well as access to our Discord VIP room, which you can talk to other VIP members like yourself if you subscribe or back us. And with that brings us to the end of the week, so thank you so much for watching, and of course stay tuned in next week for even more on Smash Brothers, which I just realized is going to be a little bit tricky for us to record because I think that's PAX week, so we're going to have to figure that one out.
Yeah, well, I'll be recording from the hotel room or something.
I guess so.
Derek.
Yeah.
Yeah, and John, yeah.
That'll be fun. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you later. Bye.